Good evening and a very warm welcome to all our greenies, our green goddess, as well as all our friends. Today we have a very special program. It's on waste management, and we soon will get into the trash talk with Waste Ventures. Let's invite Anju Agarwal to tell us more about this. Anju?
Thank you, Preeti. So it's waste management. I think each one of us knows the importance of managing our waste. And it's more of our responsibility because it's our waste, right? So it's our responsibility also to dispose it of responsibly. So keeping that in mind, we at Green Goddesses are collaborating with Waste Ventures to take this up here in our city. So we would like to call upon Sahiti to please come and introduce herself and tell us a little bit about Waste Ventures also. Sahiti?
Okay. Hi, everyone. A warm good evening to all of you from Hyderabad. Again, wonderful monsoon weather here as well. So my name is Sahiti. I lead Waste Ventures currently. I'd like to go into a small introduction about myself before I delve into what Waste Ventures does and why we do what we do. So I am an electronics engineer first. And in my last year of engineering, I kind of decided that this is not what I wanted to spend my life doing. So I've switched to environmental management. I've done my master's in green technologies from University of Southern California. And I've worked in the United States for a couple of years in green building certifications, food waste research, carbon credits, etc. And I've also worked in Africa on climate change resilience programs and other related sustainability projects as such. In 2018, I came back to Hyderabad, where I was born and brought up in, and I've been with Waste Ventures ever since. The reason I joined Waste Ventures is because it resonated, the idea of a social enterprise resonated with me. So we are a social enterprise. That means we are a private limited company working to be financially sustainable, but also working towards an environmental cause with a social angle as well. What Waste Ventures does, what we do is we partner with bulk waste generators and informal waste pickers both. On the bulk waste generators part, we partner with gated communities, schools, colleges, corporate companies, IT parks, anyone generating bulk amounts of waste. And then we implement a complete holistic waste management solutions for them. We partner with them to collect their dry waste. We have 3 warehouses in Hyderabad where all of the dry waste that is collected gets processed. Not a single kilo of waste that we collect ends up in a landfill. So all of that gets pre-processed, baling, etc. is done. And then from there, it goes to our respective pollution control board authorized recycling partners. More on the supply chain in a little while. On the social side of things, we also partner with the waste pickers. So before I go into details about what we do with waste pickers, I also like to give you a small snapshot of what happens across India once we start collecting our waste. Right. So what happens is I throw all my waste in the dustbin. I don't have any source segregation. Let's say I just have one dustbin and I just chuck my sambar, my paper, my plastics, everything into that. The waste collector in his vehicle, he comes to my home. At least in Hyderabad, they're not contracted by the municipal corporation, they just partner with them. So from the muck, they then take to their living quarters and they do preliminary source segregation. They pick out all the valuable items from them, like metals, plastic, high value plastics, and so on. As you can imagine, from this muck, most recyclable stuff also ends up unusable. So all of this is then taken to an MRF and eventually to a landfill where it's again dumped. Or that's the best case scenario in this line, right? Otherwise, if the waste picker feels that this is all too much of a hassle, then it's burned openly, as you might have already seen multiple times throughout your city.
Yeah.
Right. So back in 2015, we set out to change this scenario. And we didn't want to partner with them as a one-off charity project. We wanted to enable them to financially empower themselves. So what we started doing was picking out waste streams and bringing them into the formal supply chain. Now, as I was just talking to Anju about the other day, If you've noticed an interesting phenomenon, wherever you go, you see plastic litter. But wherever you go, you will not see all kinds of plastic. You will not see, let's say, PET bottles. You will not see your hard plastic containers that we use to store our utilities in our homes. What we will see are water packets or Maggie wrappers or chocolate and junk food packaging. These are low value plastics that have no value in the supply chain. They're non-recyclable. So what happens is, because there's no value to be gained out of the waste, because then end up burning them or landfilling them. So we figured, why not take this and incorporate it into the formal supply chain. We started going to the waste pickers and seeing, and Tetra Pak is one more such item, right? Back in 2015, there was no formal collection of Tetra Pak as such. So what we've done was we partnered with the official recycler of Tetra Pak, and we went to the waste pickers and said, you know what, you're already segregating 8 to 10 types of waste. Why don't you segregate Tetra Pak? In addition, we'll collect it and pay you extra. This will enable you to earn at least 20% extra per month. Now, in our idea, that may not be much, but for them, an extra 1,000 or 2,000 a month does add up really quickly, right? And let me tell you, it was not a cakewalk for us. It's very, very difficult to gain their trust, but when you show up day after day, month after month with money, they tend to trust you. So with that trust, today we've built almost 6,000 waste pickers across Hyderabad as a network, and we collect all sorts of waste from them, predominantly low value plastics and Tetra Pak, right? With this context, we've taken the decision to expand into Chennai, and with wonderful green goddesses supporting us, facilitating our journey, I would say. We are very, very excited to partner with the waste pickers across Chennai and add value to them, to partner with the bulk waste generators across Chennai and give them holistic waste management solutions.
I totally agree with you over there, Sahiti. But I think I can say for sure that Chennai is quite an aware city, where waste management is concerned, because most of the people now have started doing waste segregation at home. So in that aspect, I think the corporation is also doing a little bit of, really good work.
Yes.
So that has helped. But yes, there still needs to be an awareness, because people do tend to just dump in, even their wet waste and the dry waste and everything into one bag, So even if you want to segregate it or you want to recycle it, I think with all the moisture content that goes into it, it's just redundant. It's a waste. You can't do anything much or salvage anything much from it.
Yes.
So yes, we would like to also know from you, what is it? Wet waste, I know, is your kitchen waste, which you generate. But by dry waste, a lot of people get confused, by dry waste. They would even think that it could mean the brown waste which is generated from their gardens. So exactly by what do you mean by dry waste is what I would like you to tell our members here.
Okay, so before we go into dry and wet, I would urge every one of you to segregate into 3 streams, not just 2. Dry waste, wet waste, and reject waste. And just a funny anecdote, right? So when we talk about dry and wet, if we don't make it clear, there are some people who genuinely do message me and say, I've put my nachos in dry waste because they're dry. What do you mean I have to put them in the wet waste? So that's why we make it very clear to people. Dry is recyclable waste. Wet is organic waste, that which can biodegrade naturally. So whatever you can eat or whatever you've rejected after eating, your puja stuff, everything that decomposes goes into wet waste. All that is recyclable goes into dry waste. So let me show you a small classification of that. Let me just share my screen really quickly, and then I'll come back and I have some items to show you on the different kinds of dry waste that we do generate around the home. Give me a minute. Let me share my screen, please. Hold on. Thank you. Okay. I hope everyone can see this.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'll just quickly go down to the segregation part, right? At first glance, the dustbin seems pretty innocuous, but there are so many stuff that go into this. So to start with organic waste, what all go into the green bin? So we typically suggest green, blue, and red, not because you cannot segregate without it. You definitely can and should use whatever you have. But when we're talking about, let's say, 500 apartment buildings, it's really easy to train the collection staff if we have a uniform system throughout the community. That is the reason we'll be talking about green, blue, and red. But the goal here is segregation. Whatever fits your boat, you can use that system and segregate. So organic waste, when we talk about organic waste, your entire leftover rice, leftover cooked food, the peels that you get when you cut your fruits and vegetables, eggshells, dried flowers from your puja or your decor, chicken and fish bones, rotten fruits and vegetables, to some extent tissues soiled with food, tea bags, coffee grounds. This is one question that I often get. Tea bags can and should go into your food waste. Coconut shells, leaf plates, all of this would go into your organic waste. Now, when I say leaf plates, these are pure leaf plates, right? Not the kind of plates that you get in the market these days with a plastic lining on it. If you do get such things, then peel off the plastic, put them in the dry waste, and the remaining cardboard you can shred and put it in your organic waste, or you can still put it in your dry waste, right? Now, this is the categorization for organic waste. This might vary depending on the composting systems at your place. Some composting systems might not take leftover food and chicken bones and whatnot, but most generally, this is the organic waste that should go into your green bin, right? Now, dry waste, the biggest category of waste in our dustbins, plastic, the ever-present plastic, everything from Swiggy containers to the tape that we use to package our food in, to maybe broken toys, whatnot. I have some examples here that I'll show you in a little while. All sorts of beverage cans. This might be aluminum, this might be plastic, doesn't matter. Paper. If see, when I say paper, if it's drenched with curry or sambar, please do put it in the reject waste. Paper, unsoiled paper can go into here. Shredded paper can also go into here. Your newspapers, magazines, although in India we do have a pretty good habit of keeping all the magazines and newspapers separate. Any of your junk mail, your cartons, your pizza boxes, all of it can go here. Metal, any iron and aluminum spare parts that you have around your home. Tetra Pak, which is your milk cartons, your Amul dabbas, all of this can go here. Glass can also go into dry waste. E-waste, electronic waste, all sorts of electronic waste like your wires, broken chargers, earphones, bulbs, tube lights, printers, any sort of electronics can go into dry waste as well. Now, some disclaimers here. Let's say you have a party and you've gotten disposables. If these disposables are made out of styrofoam, I'm sorry to say these will have to go into reject waste because styrofoam is not recyclable, right? So these are some things that we should keep in mind definitely, because they will just mess up the entire collection recycling system if they are put into dry waste, right? So these are some things that cannot go into dry waste container. They have to be put into reject waste. E-waste, when I say bulbs and tube lights, and even for that matter glass, please put all your broken pieces of glass and e-waste separately in the reject waste. You might have swanky chutes to take care of your waste, but at the end of the day, there's manual segregation happening in pretty much all the places in India. No one would like to open a bin and then get like a sharp glass cut on their hands, which our employees face numerous times, right? So though technically glass is recyclable, I would please urge all of you segregating at your homes to put broken pieces of glass or any other recyclables into reject waste. Now, reject waste consists of anything that is not recyclable and not compostable. So this would be our sanitary napkins, diapers, bandages and condoms, hair, nails, when we do jadu pocha, whatever dust we get in our homes, used tissues mostly because well, it comes into hazardous waste because it comes into contact with our bodily fluids. Expired medicines, any sharps like razor blades, syringes, injection vials, and all of this, any medical waste as such, any construction debris you have from renovating your homes, flower pots, and other dry waste like rubber, old mops, dust sponges, cosmetics, ceramics, wooden chips, etc. So that is, these are the basic classifications we have. I would also like to show you guys a small video on what happens behind the screens once you dump all the waste into your dustbins, what Waste Ventures does when we collect the waste at our end. Right, so let me play a small video for you guys. Let me know if the video lags or if you're not able to hear the audio, please. So that's a small video on what happens at our warehouse. It captures the very, very hard work that we do into like a minute and a half. But this is just a snapshot.
This is very similar to the workshop that I went and I visited Hyderabad. I went to Bintex and we had I had visited there also. So it's
So
a
fun fact,
system.
we do the operations for Bintex as well, Anjali.
Yeah, so that's it was amazing. It was really amazing to see how the waste is put onto the conveyor belts, and you have these ladies sitting in the line on both the sides of the belt, and they're just picking up and segregating it, and each one is doing it. And by the time the waste reaches the end of the conveyor belt, there's nothing left. Everything has been sorted out.
Yes.
So it was so systematically done, and then you are having those bottles
And baled.
and then and baled and kept, and your cartons baled and kept, the milk packets baled and kept, everything was getting segregated item wise and baled and kept to be sent further. But that was what was really very amazing, because at the end of the day, this is only what we need. We don't want it going to the landfill again.
Yes.
Once it goes to the landfill, then it's no point in doing all this exercise.
Yes.
So where exactly does this waste go now? I would like you to throw a little bit more of light from the web.
Definitely. Just allow me a quick minute so that I can pull up some products that that are made from the waste that we generate as well. Just give me a minute.
Sahiti, can I intervene here for a minute?
Sure, definitely.
Quintix is a venture of Waste Ventures. They are both one and the same. Quintix is on the retail side, Waste Ventures is on the bulk side.
Small correction. So they are a sister company, I would say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But there is a distinct difference. Quintix is focusing on individual homes.
Yes.
Waste Ventures is focusing on bulk generators like offices, factories, and things like that.
Yes.
Basic operations are same, but focus is different. Number two, from the video, if you see, it's not only waste management, it's employment generation. Unskilled ladies are employed.
Yes. And I would like to add, because it's such a secure environment and we employ couples as well, there's many ladies that work with us that are working for the first time in their lives, right? And they have medical insurance, they have all sorts of employment benefits, PF, ESI, etc. And some of them have joined self-help groups also after being employed from us, and it just blows our mind how much of a difference we can see in them, in their attitudes. Once they start working and earning, they do bring their relatives and their husbands also to join with us sometimes, and it's a very nice feeling for us as well.
Yeah,
To
it
be
gives them a
employed.
sense of purpose. It gives them a sense of value to their lives. So that's what.
And a quarter of them are formerly waste pickers. So they were formerly rag pickers and waste pickers who came to sell us their waste and then ended up joining our workforce. So that's a very hearty thing for us as well to witness.
Yeah. There's a sort of a dignity also which goes with the job, right? I mean, if you're from the streets, now you're working for a company. So there is a certain amount of, yeah,
Agree. Yes.
I think it makes a big difference in their lives also. So you're just empowering them more.
Yeah, it definitely does. To circle back into what happens to the waste once we send it out, plastics go to the recycler of plastic. What they do is they wash it, melt it, or shred it, and they make into these granules of different grades. Now these granules get reused when new products are made. So, for example, the plastic products you see on the side of the road or in China Bazaar, all of that, majority of them are made from recycled plastic, right? So that's where these are used. So nowadays, all major brands of clothing and shoes use recycled plastic. Your Nike and Adidas use plastic in their shoes. Your so the T-shirt that you can see the guy wearing is completely made out of PET bottles. The Green Waste Ventures logo wala T-shirt. So all of our employees wear T-shirts made from recycled plastic. You can have clothes made out of them. You can have shoes made out of them. You can just use them in a number of purposes. So nowadays, most products have a requirement to use certain amount of recycled plastics. So that's where most of the plastic goes. Cardboard and paper, as we all know, goes back into cardboard, into remaking cardboard or rough papers again, lower quality papers. Metal, highly recyclable, can be remade into metal. Glass as well as amazing recyclability. E-waste is one such category that I would like to stress. E-waste is such a pain for the waste pickers to deal with. That's the only kind of waste that we actively tell people do not give to waste pickers. Otherwise, we work with waste pickers, we do not replace them. That's the only category because they do not follow any safety precautions in dismantling and extracting precious metals out of them. And in that process, they're exposed to heavy metals like mercury and cadmium. And they do face all sorts of hazardous working conditions there, and it's pretty impossible for us to um, kind of enable safe working conditions for them. So the only solution we see is not to let e-waste enter that waste stream. You know, separate your waste, e-waste, and only give to authorized recyclers who can process it in the recommended way. Otherwise, see, the waste picker is not able to think, okay, 5 years later I've gotten cancer. This is because 5 years earlier I've dismantled a printer, right? That he cannot make that judgment. And so it's up to us to not put them in that position. Nowadays, even if you're not tying up with the proper waste management agencies, every electronics shop, Reliance Digital, Chroma, all of these people have e-waste drop-off centers as well, where you can go drop off your waste. And if you have a preliminary search and are living in a tier 1 metro city, I'm sure you can find a way to dispose your e-waste. So I would urge all of you, if there's one thing that you're going to take away from today, it is that please do not put your e-waste in your regular bin if it's going to be taken by a waste picker. So that's one thing that I would like to highlight. Other than that, what did I miss any waste stream that goes to a particular person? So the low value plastics, lower grade of plastics like LDP and PP, they get made into paint brushes, shaving brush bristles, pillow foam stuffing, many innovative products like this. So Chennai, everyone knows they used to make roads as well from recycled plastic. So there's now a number of applications. So across all of it, one thing applies. It's that for any manufacturer to reuse plastic, recycled plastic, the one thing that they focus on is the quality of recycled plastic. It's that it shouldn't be contaminated. That's where we can help as well by segregating properly, right? So does that answer your question, Anju? You're on. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great. So did I? Okay, I have some items that I compiled really quickly in 10 minutes. Let's see what goes where. Oh, spoon. Ideally, you would be reusing it, but this would go into your dry waste pile. These are, what else do we have here? Old toys, plastic toys can go into your dry waste. If they are really sharp and broken, please put them in your reject waste. If you have cloths, most in India, cloth is not recyclable. There's no textile recycling as such. So any cloth, waste cloth, I know in India we have a really good habit of reusing cloth until it's in absolute tatters, which is wonderful. Whatever is left, please put it in your reject waste pile. So just a fun fact for all of you, right? So I was attending this conference on sustainability in Los Angeles, and I was just presenting to them what all innovations we have from our ancient practices in India, from eating in banana leaves to passing down clothes through generations and then using it to, there's a hierarchy in cleaning cloths as well, right? So one is you just use it to carry utensils, and then you use it to clean your stoves and floors and whatnot. So there's just, you use it until its end of life. And then what all zero waste practices we have in our culture, and they were absolutely fascinated. So I think it's just on us now to go back to our roots and not fall prey to the consumerist mindset now.
I think there's just one thing which I would like to ask you. You know, now because of the pandemic, the use of the masks and the PP suits, that's increased so much. So what is the best way of, disposing of these masks and PP suits that you have?
Yeah. So again, disclaimer, use cloth masks if at all possible, but if it's absolutely mandatory to use disposable masks like this, please cut off your strings and drop them into your reject waste pile. Please do not add them into your dry waste, and if possible, tie them up separately with your diapers, sanitary napkins or whatnot. Make absolutely clear that these came into your body fluids. Same happens to any tissue paper that you've used to sanitize your waste as such. Masks have been. So you wanted to say something?
So yeah, I think Suresh uncle wants to say something.
Yeah, please, sir.
But Saiti, I want to add one thing more here. I personally feel that masks after use, you are contaminating it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So just disposing it off like that also into the e-waste also, the reject waste is not right. I think we need to sanitize or at least wash or, dip it in some solution, disinfectant, and then probably put it in some newspaper or something so that nobody touches it.
Yes.
And then you can, and of course, yes, by cutting the strings or this thing it, but I think that needs to be done also.
Agree. So you wanted to say something?
I think Suresh uncle wanted to say something. Yes, uncle.
There are two special technologies available to convert masks and PPC kits into concrete blocks. Exclusive mask recycling activity. They collect all the masks, they sanitize it, clean it, and then take it for further processing. Only for masks and PPE kits. Total sanitation is taken care of, and you get concrete bricks out of that. Investment is about 5 to 6 lakhs.
Yeah.
You need a half an acre land. That's the only requirement.
So I've also come across this technology. It's a wonderful technology.
So you have another option open for you at Waste Ventures.
So unfortunately not. So what happens in these kind of things is it doesn't work out the way we want to. One is we're not authorized by the government to collect hazardous waste. You need special authorizations for that. And two is the scale needed to work out these kind of things will not work unless we partner with the hospitals or somewhere where these are generated in bulk, right? So again, as Sir suggested, we're very happy that technologies like these exist, but we can only make sure that we're not generating enough for us to kind of route our waste into these things.
Yeah.
And these technologies are not a reason for us to over generate and then dump it, right? So in this context, I would also like to bring up my pet peeve of 2021 is compostable plastics. Guys, please do not use compostable plastics. I'm sorry if I've ruffled any feathers here, but I've just been speaking to our recycling partner, And they also mention how much of an impact it has had on their recyclability level. Okay, so he's actually shown me granules where we send clear milk packets and they produce absolutely nice creamy white granules. And when the biodegradable plastics come in, they just generate these dark grayish blackish granules. So this whole batch of recyclable plastics get affected. So I have yet to, maybe I've missed some really good producers, but I've yet to come across compostable plastics that are actually backyard compostable without an industrial facility. So if you're going to have to absolutely use bin liners, you do not have any other alternative, use plastic ones. There's at least a supply chain for it, whereas compostable liners do not, and they're really, really hard to segregate from the plastic ones, thus contaminating the entire supply chain. So these kind of things are counterintuitive for us, right? It's very, very important for us to be aware of these. One more example I can think of in these lines are paper cups, right? So I keep telling people who come to us for suggestions on zero waste events, and I'm sure you guys also consult for a lot of zero waste events, right? So a lot of paper cups have plastic lining on them.
Yeah.
So any material, any item that is a mix of two waste streams, which is paper and plastic or paper and gum or whatever it is, it just is really difficult to recycle. So for us, the recyclability of pure plastic cups is better than paper cups with plastic lining on them, which is pretty much impossible to remove, right? So at first glance, you might think, okay, why is this person recommending plastic cups over paper? We all know plastic is the villain here. But looking at the end of life of both, I would rather recommend plastic cups, which then I can collect and clean and recycle, versus paper cups, which then pretty much have to be dumped if they had juice or something else in them, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, even the sweet boxes, any shop you go, I mean, even if you go to a restaurant, whichever you're taking a takeaway or whatever, each thing has a plastic lining on that. So normally I have a habit of stripping off the plastic and then, tearing those bits into boxes into small bits if it is recyclable.
Yeah.
And then going and putting it off in my compost bin.
Yeah.
So I normally have a bag where I keep tearing cartons as I'm watching TV or doing something,
Yeah.
just sitting idle at home. That's the time when all these works start happening.
Yeah.
So there's a pile lying there, which is there. Okay, fine. One fine day I'll sit and I'll do it off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand. And it's a way of life, I think, you have to just live it to experience it.
Yeah. So
once it starts off, I think it's once it starts, it's not that difficult, and especially for children who are, small children at home, it's an activity. They really enjoy doing it,
Yeah. So fun fact is, when we conduct workshops for kids, first question they ask us, why is everyone not doing this? Very seriously, huh? Why is everyone not doing this? And we're like, well, you can start in your homes. And we've had cases in the communities where the community volunteer group have very effectively utilized children to raise awareness, because these children will then go and shame their parents into compliance. They're like, what do you mean I can put it in the right bins? Why are you not complying? So no one wants to answer to kids, right?
No, but actually, I think that is a trend which I have also seen, because when we were going from Green Goddesses to schools before the pandemic for doing classes in organic gardening and home composting and, climate change and everything, that's one thing which came across very, very strongly, that children are the ones who are going ahead and talking, and, they are the ones telling their parents, look, if they can do it, we can do it. And if I can do it, you can do it. So why not, Yeah. So I think it's, and I think they have done it also, because when we were doing organic workshops, gardening workshops, we requested the children to collect the waste. So I said, if you're cooking an egg today, please dry the shell and bring it for the next class. Collect your eggshells and bring it. We'll use it for the tomato plants, just for an example, I'm just telling you this. And you won't believe, out of a class of 40, there were at least 5 who got it. And those 5 were the ones who actually got to take the tomatoes back home.
Wonderful.
And that inspired the other children also to follow the same and start doing it. So I think children are the ones who actually tend to take the initial, the first step or the leap towards doing it. they're more open to it. That.
And some of them actually tell us in the workshops that, I know you guys, I've seen your vehicle in Aparna's hyperzone. You come to us, no, I live there. I know that we segregate. So I'm very, very happy to know that, children are involved in the process and they actually know what's happening in their homes. Because at that age, when I was in 4th class, I did not know where my trash went. I did not know anything. So I'm really happy to see that the next generation of kids are aware and spreading that awareness.
Yeah, in fact, I remember when I went at one point of time in my life, I remember going door to door, ringing the doorbell and telling people, look, are you composting? Are you segregating? You need to do it, things like that. So there was one kid who said, my mom doesn't have time, auntie, for any of this. You tell me what needs to be done and I'll have it to. So, yeah, that is true.
So I've just seen a question in the chat box from Komal, how to recycle e-waste. So Komal, as I've said, if you have a Chroma showroom in your vicinity, I'm sure they accept e-waste drop-off. So collect it until that trip makes sense and then go drop it off with their center. You can also just Google e-waste recycling centers in Chennai. If your community or an educational institution is partnering with Waste Ventures India or Bintex, we also take e-waste as a part of our dry waste collection. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, so those are some of the stuff that we do. I would also like to emphasize that all of us, it's especially working in this field for so long, I know it's really easy to get demotivated and think, okay, how can I make a difference? Or one big counter argument that I get is, okay, there needs to be a systemic change. We cannot affect it. Just by ourselves, which I do agree with to an extent. I do agree that there needs to be a systemic change and there needs to be change at a bigger scale. But that does not mean that our individual actions are meaningless or they don't have any impact, right? They do. They absolutely do. Just to give you a very, very small example, because my mom was conscious of our waste, that planted the seed in me to go towards environmental management. And today I'm leading a waste management company. So who knows, maybe your workshops or maybe Anju going door to door has inspired someone somewhere to take up systemic change. So someone needs to influence systemic change. It's not something that's going to happen on itself, right? So we cannot use that systemic change as an excuse to be complacent in our individual actions. We need to be the change that we want to see. I know it's a very cliche statement to make, but it's absolutely true. So we can start really small. And once we start, I'm sure it has a snowballing effect that we also don't foresee sometimes, right? So again, just to share a small anecdote with you, I was planning my wedding a couple of years ago. And during that, I said, you know what? I told my family, you know what? My friends, my professional colleagues are going to come and it's just going to look absolutely bonkers if I have plastic in my wedding. Because I'm going around preaching that, manage your waste responsibly. So my uncle who's managing the wedding comes to me and he's like, what do you expect us to serve water in? We are going to put water Bisleri bottles. I'm like, no, sorry. We're going to use steel bottles. And he was like, what do you mean you want me to use steel glasses? It's just absolutely not acceptable. What will the groom's family think, etc., etc. Right? So I've had the good fortune to partner with a utensil bank, a cutlery bank who's just rolled out their glasses and plates, and we partnered with them. And I said, I will talk to the groom's family. I'm sure that it's not going to be a problem. Just trust me on this. So after the engagement where we piloted this, there was only steel cutlery. There were no plastic disposables used to serve waste. Our relatives and our guests actually came to us and said, this is such a nice thing. I think we are going to use these later on because these give off such a nice vibe compared to the styrofoam containers we normally use. They're pretty easier, cheaper. You just need one person extra to kind of wash it and all. And this was what was done like maybe 10-20 years ago as well, right? We just forgot about it. So that kind of pushed my relatives into thinking, okay, then this can be implemented for the wedding as well. So for my wedding as well, 90% of the cutlery was steel. Where we could not handle that, we've gotten biodegradable cutlery, which is an option now. spoons and plates made out of sugarcane bagasse or cornstarch, which are biodegradable. And I've kind of bullied my employees into collecting and composting it for me. So that worked out as well. And the flower decorator looked like I was mad because I told him, okay, if you want payment, you're going to collect and then give the flower waste at my site where it will be composted. He's like, this is the first time in my entire career I'm getting such a request, but he was happy to do it at the end. So you're anyway shelling out lakhs of rupees, so might as well go that extra step and spend a little bit more to make sure your personal events and celebrations are not impacting the environment and the people adversely. I'm sure someone somewhere will be inspired by your actions, and that's how change starts as well.
Yes, change
I'm
starts
sure
with
Green Goddess
yourself.
also consults for zero waste events and any eco-friendly events like this as well.
Change starts with us. We need to be, we need to take the first step. If we believe in it, I think we should also abide by it.
Exactly.
And I think steel is a wonderful metal. I think somewhere in the last couple of years, it just went off the radar of everything that, with the...
So now it is coming back. So bigger communities with 2,000-3,000 apartments, they've actually established their own cutlery banks, which works really well for birthday parties, kitty parties, and all of these.
Yeah, it is. They've sprouted up at a lot of places. In fact, I was reading a couple of articles where even for the weddings, the steel utensils were being washed with, the soap nut powder.
Bioenzymes.
Yeah, and the bioenzyme mixed in it. So even that was not chemical, right?
Yes.
So that also was totally harmless. And again, when it went down, when they were washing and it went down into the earth, also it's not going to harm your...
Yes.
The mother earth, or it's not going to harm your environment. So that was also please, let's get back to this thing and tell us what actually happens to the waste. I understand it gets recycled. What about the things which are non-recyclable? What do you do about that? How do you take care of those?
So non-recyclable, unfortunately, currently our collection includes only recyclable waste. Non-recyclable waste, so if it's wet waste, then we advise communities on how to compost in their own premises. But the reject waste currently, it has to go through the approved collector, garbage collector, whoever is coming to your homes and collecting it, and then he'll have to landfill it. That's the system, unfortunately, for now. So because we've not been able to change that, our goal has been able to minimize it as much as we can and divert waste from the landfill as much as we can. So just to give you an example, if you're segregating properly your dry and wet and reject waste, out of every kg of waste you generate, only 5 or 10 grams should go into reject waste, right? Or 50 grams at the max. So 5 to 10%, less than 5% of your total waste will be reject waste. Whereas if you're not segregating, 100% of it is going to go into reject waste. So that's the impact that we have. So currently we are working on averting waste from the landfill. But once it reaches the landfill, then we only have an option of incinerating it or scientifically landfilling it, unfortunately.
So who are all eligible, Sahiti, to sign up with you? Who would you say, what is the eligibility criteria for one to to sign up with Waste Ventures? So
anyone living as a part of gated community, at least more than 50 to 60 flats or villas. If you know of any schools or colleges that your kids go to, educational institutions, if your office wants to go zero waste with us, IT parks, corporate companies, hotels and restaurants, and most importantly, gated communities. If you live as a part of a gated community, we will take care of all the waste for you, right? So all of the categories that I've mentioned, we have them as our clients. So you can approach us and then just say, okay, this is what I want to do in our community, and then we will take it from there. From segregation awareness campaigns to housekeeping training sessions to talking to your committee to actually implementing the collection. We offer our services everywhere. The only thing you would like to do, not easy, I know, and the only thing you have to do is to have the zeal to implement that change within your community and work with us to make that happen.
Yes, so all those of you here who are wanting to take this road towards a greener and a cleaner city. We request you to please get in touch with us. Send us your address and your interest to our email ID greengoddesses@gmail.com, or you can connect with any one of us goddesses here, and we will ensure that the thing is facilitated and done. And we, together with Waste Ventures, we hope to work together to a much more cleaner city. So I think that's about it for today. Saiti, that was quite insightful. And I would probably call on Nina to say a few words.
I'm just waiting for my two boys to just keep quiet to say a few words. Right? Okay, that Sahiti, this is actually my pet subject. I love it. Okay, and even when we started the Green Goddess Club, when everyone was talking about greening, I was talking about cleaning. Do you remember, Anju?
Yes, Nina.
So this was my really. So I'm so happy that you came along, and so many new things that we've learned today, Sahiti. Actually, about segregation and what exactly should go into each of these things. So we will try and make contact with people who have, who are staying in bigger places, so that we request all our Green Club members to tell us if they're staying in communities like that, so that we could implement the change. Like you said, the change starts from each one of us, right? So today evening has been like really an eye opener for all of us. So and someone so young, Sahiti, so lovely to see that you have taken the right step in the right direction.
Thank you so much.
And I think I've seen Uma Muthuswami's comment also saying that anything starts in your childhood, like even animal care, even kindness. So I think we need to instill that in our young people, also into the children. So looking forward to working with you, right? Right now we are partners in this, right?
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Sahiti.
I would request Preeti or Jayu to please give a vote of thanks.
Jay, you go ahead.
Thank you
Jayu.
Preeti, for being with us, and you are always so encouraging, and we are always trying to do new things with you all. And I'm really impressed at Saiti being so young and so enthusiastic from Hyderabad. And with this, online thing, I think the world is getting smaller and smaller. So Saiti, we are going to work with you, and it's going to be a fantastic journey with another good woman on our side. And Greenies, it's been excellent. Please do let us know if you all are in big associations or big buildings, or your offices or factories. Please do get in touch with us. And of course, I wanted to just tell on the last thing that the Greenies have to be renewing their membership. It's just $9.99. It's a lot of fun for all of us there, and we look forward for your memberships coming in for us. Most of you all have paid, but please spread the word. And it's nice fun where we can spread the word of greenery and a cleaner Chennai. So please join us. And I think Preeti will now bring in Shalini to end the thing. Come, Preeti.
Thank you, Jenny. So we have learned so much today, and I would like to say it's also a social venture. It's also something quite productive. In this day and age, you can also make money with trash. It's a billion-dollar industry, as you all know. So let's start investing and taking care of our trash and manage it really well. I would like to request now Shalini Bokaria to say a small prayer. Shalini?
Yes. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I really enjoyed the talk today. I'm really interested, and I would connect with you all. I'm singing a Krishna Bhakti. Achyutam Keshavam Krishna Damodaram. Achyutam Keshavam Krishna Damodaram. Ramanarayanam Janaki Vallabham. रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम. कौन कहता है भगवान खाते नहीं, कौन कहता है भगवान खाते नहीं, बेर शबरी के जैसे खिलाते नहीं, बेर सबरी के जैसे खिलाते नहीं। कौन कहता है भगवान आते नहीं, तुम मीरा के जैसे बुलाते नहीं, तुम मीरा के जैसे बुलाते नहीं। कौन कहता है भगवान सोते नहीं, माँ यशोदा के जैसे सुलाते नहीं, माँ यशोदा के जैसे सुलाते नहीं। अच्युतम केशवम दामोदरम राम नारायणं जानकी वल्लभं, राम नारायणं जानकी वल्लभं।
Thank you so much, Shalini. Thank you, Sahiti. Thank you, Greenies. Thank you all for joining us today. We'll see you very soon shortly with more programs for the Green Goddesses and the Greenies. Nandri Vanakkam.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. Looking forward to interacting with each one of you individually.